Our topic for today is attention. It is a very common word that we often hear, attention. This is an important aspect of our teaching process. So we will have to discuss this also in detail. See, at any given moment, our senses are being bombarded with multiple stimuli. Okay, just focus around you. What all can you hear? What all can you see? You are able to see so many things around you, right? And you're able to hear many sounds. Yet we only perceive few of them clearly, right? So why were we not aware about the all the noises, all the stimuli in our environment? How does this happen? We have discussed about this when we were talking about perception, right? So we only focus and hear and pay attention to things that are of our immediate concern. So we can say attention is a term that is given to the perceptual processes that select certain inputs for inclusion in our conscious experience or awareness at a given time. Now let us look at a definition given by Trisman, Lindsay and Norman. That since we cannot process all the information in our sensory channels, we filter or partially block out some inputs while letting others through. So attention is a process that selects certain inputs for inclusion in the focus of our experience. So attention again is a cognitive process. Attention is a process which compels an individual to select some information or stimulus according to his or her need or aptitude out of all the multiple stimulus present in an environment, right? So we can say it is concentration on one object rather than the whole objects around us in the environment. Now in this unit, what are we going to learn? There's a small introduction definition as usual. We'll also be learning about nature of attention. What are the various types of attention? We will also be understanding what are the various factors that affect attention. Here we will also be discussing about various problems in attention, in maintaining attention. And also we will discuss about the importance of attention in the classroom. Okay, we will also discuss various activities to improve the classroom attention. Now let us understand some aspects of attention. You can call it nature or characteristic of attention also. So we do understand that attention is a selective process and it is a mental activity. So attention basically is a selective type of mental activity. The process of attention divides our field of experience into focus and margin. This means that even if we are in between multiple stimuli, we are able to perceive and we focus only on things which we pay attention to. The other items that we perceive are maybe we might be perceiving them dimly and we may not even be aware of their presence or vaguely aware of their presence. So we can understand that we cannot perceive everything around us. Our attention is very focused and there is at one time we can only attend to one kind of stimuli that is coming to us. So we pay attention to one thing at one time. So as the attention shifts from one object to another, we also perceive, our perception also starts changing. So our attention cannot be on one aspect alone. Similarly, our attention is never constant. It keeps shifting from one point to the other. So attention usually has span and we call it span of attention and it varies from one person to another. It becomes again individual in nature. What does attention do? What happens when we are attentive? When we are attentive, we are also prepared for something, right? So we start paying attention. For example, if you are in a forest, you will start paying attention to things that are required for your survival and safety. So you become prepared. In the same way, in every environment, whether it is a normal, regular environment or a new environment, attention helps us to be prepared and to stay alert. So we are always prepared and alert with the help of attention. So we can also understand that attention is some kind of a design in us that keeps us always alert and be prepared for things. Now, psychologists regard attention as having three related aspects: attention as a postural response, attention as a conscious response, and attention is set towards action. Attention as a postural response is something like we can understand that there is always a mobilization and adjustment of various parts of our body and also of our sense organs towards the object of attention. You can understand this by observing an auditory learner in your classroom. Okay, even though the child will be here and there, may not be looking very attentive in the class, but look at his ear, look at his way of sitting. The focus will be on you, on the class that he is attending. Visual attention may not be there, but body wise and posture wise, he will be listening to you. Now, attention and consciousness has a very uh, interlinking role. Okay, so whenever we are conscious about thing, we pay attention to it. When things that there are so many things that are going around us, and we remain unaware of it. So, attention is something which we have or which we do with our consciousness. Now, attention is set towards action. When we attend, our whole body responds in some way or the other. Some motivating condition influences us to react in a particular direction. So, it is important to understand that attention is towards an action, easily understood by the way we react to things. Okay, so sometimes our action reaction speed is very high, so that means that our attention was there and we were able to perceive it and we reacted on time. So this way we can understand that attention is always towards an action. We are always prepared and ready for action, and the reason behind this is because we are paying attention to it. Now, there are two types of attention in our body. One is involuntary attention, the other one is voluntary attention. Involuntary attention is a kind of attention where there is no effort required. It is done with an inner force. So there is no conscious effort for it, and these kind of attention are internal in nature. Now, involuntary attentions are enforced due to the instincts in us. This can be physiological instinct or can be due to curiosity, the curiosity based instinct. Usually, we see that involuntary attentions are very spontaneous attention. One example you can see is of emotional outburst. Sometimes there is some kind of a sentiment attached to certain things or certain behavior, and we can see people spontaneously reacting or overreacting to things. This is an involuntary attention and the reaction to it. Okay, let's take an example. You are very busy working with multiple things in your household, and your small child comes up and he or she is going to touch something hot. Any effort, you go and you stop the child. This is an involuntary reaction from you because your attention was there on the child. It was an involuntary attention on the child. Okay, So this is involuntary attention. Likewise, voluntary attention is something where we have to give some kind of an effort, or we have to consciously put a focus on it. Voluntary attention can be divided into two types. One is implicit attention, the other one is explicit attention. Now, implicit attention is something where we have to give conscious effort, and the effort is one time, that is a single time effort, and one stimuli has to be used. Single stimuli will be involved there. Let us learn it with an example. Suppose you have been asking somebody to do a work. For example, a home assignment. You have been asking a student to do a home assignment, and you are not getting the assignment back on time. Each time you have to put a lot of extra effort to do it. So you can introduce punishment and reward method, and due to which the child comes up and he does the homework and brings it to you. So what you do is you tell the classroom very clearly what is going to happen if they do not submit their home assignment, and the child gets attentive about this, and he puts his effort. This is a single time you have said. He puts effort and he brings the home assignment in the class on time. Now, explicit attention. Explicit attention again is a conscious effort. But here we will have to put many efforts. Many time the effort has to be put. Multiple stimulus has to be introduced, and it is required. For example, somebody is writing an UPSC exam and wants to be a topper. So he or she has to bring his attention on this objective each time and every day. It's not one day. With multiple kind of stimulus, with multiple motivational factor, the attention has to be pulled towards this goal. This is called explicit attention. Now let us look at some factors that affect our attention. The factors are also of two types. One is external factor of attention or objective factors. The other one is internal factor of attention or subjective factors. Let us look at each of them one by one. Objective factors or external factors are the factors that are coming from the environment that catch our attention. So various things catch our attention. So we will understand it in detail. The first one is the nature of stimulus. What are the kind of stimulus that we receive? One is a visual stimulus. Second is gustatory or the taste. Third, olfactory smell, auditory, and tactile stimulus. Okay, so these kind of stimulus are always present in the environment, but something attracts us more. The reasons can be many. It can be something that is being related to our psychology also, or maybe something other than that. Experiments have shown that forms, colors, sounds attract more attention. For example, a melodious voice receives more attention than a non-melodious voice, right? Similarly, we can say that beautiful things, unique things, bright things pull our attention more than something which is dull and regular in nature. The same way, intensity of things also pull our attention. This is also something that affects our attention. High sound, excessive pressure, bright colors, or some internal factors like acute pain or somebody who is suffering, these all affect our attention. It pulls our attention. Usually what happens is when there is a lot of intensity, a large amount of energy is also stimulated. So it pulls our attention towards things which have greater intensity. The size of objects also pull attention. For example, you might have seen posters that are being made, they are all developed with this kind of understanding about attention. So they will be always bright in color, and they will always be big, in sizes, so that they pull our attention more towards it. Many things in our environment we can see which are designed with this kind of understanding. For example, the red light is designed with this understanding. The red color has more intensity and it pulls our attention. The contrast, change, and novelty also plays a very important role in affecting our attention. So, a small spot on a very wide surface, it will pull your attention. So this is a contrast, okay? The background or the contrast plays a very important role in catching our attention. Something that is being repeated all the time. Repetition also plays a very important role, even if it is a weak stimuli, but if it is repeated all over and over again, it becomes a focus of attention. So repetition is one key thing what a teacher can use to catch attention of children in the classroom. Movement is another thing that affects our attention. So you might have seen that when in a classroom, even if there is a small insect or a small bee that comes inside through the window, it disturbs the whole class. So anything that moves catches our attention. Advertisement business, this concept is also being used, and we can see advertisements through moving vehicles. So this catches our attention. So and stationary objects, the moving objects catch our attention. As we know that attention has a span, so attention cannot be sustained for a long time on a particular object. Hence, it keeps changing, and it keeps changing with the change of stimulus. So if you change your position in the classroom or you do some kind of changes in your class, attention will be more sustained. Now imagine you're standing somewhere and there are a lot of things going around you. So where will you pay more attention? Will you pay more attention to things you see or behind your back? Definitely. We will pay attention to things which are in our visual field, something that is in front of our eyes. So this is the reason why we see some kind of advertisements on the front page, and these are very costly advertisements. So this catches and receives more attention. So it's something that is in the center. The location also plays a very vital role in affecting our attention. Similarly, something that outstands, something that is isolated, also plays a very important role in affecting our attention. If you observe a child who never mixes up with other children in the classroom, so it will catch your attention, right? So attention also goes into things which are isolated. Now, systematic and rhythmic forms all play a very important role in affecting our attention. So, we have heard about Gestalt in our perception lesson. So, Gestalt says that the brain and its functions are so structured and organized that there is an innate fundamental tendency to see balance and rhythmic patterns, which means that systematic pattern and rhythmic flow catches our attention more than non-systematic or non-rhythmic forms. Now, novelty is also one very important factor that catches our attention. Some tastes, some sound, some kind of a smell, when you come across it, and it, even if it goes unnoticed by your conscious mind, but your attention immediately goes and catches it. The familiar things or the familiar items in even in a new surrounding catches one's attention very easily. So these are few external factors that affect our attention. Let us also understand internal factors that affect our attention. Interest. Interest is something which is very unique to a person, and based on his or her interest, an individual's attention is also drawn to that object or that stimulus. The next one is biological state, or which we also called organic state. Body also plays a very important role in our attention. For example, if a child wants to use a washroom, okay, he wants to go to the toilet, and you are taking a very interesting class, even if the class is very meaningful for him, where will his attention be? For using the lavatory, right? So attention mainly depends upon our organic state also. So this is the reason why we have lot of recess in our schools. One is motivational factors, something that motivates us more, the attention is drawn to that point. Here our emotion also plays a very important role. Set. Mental set is nothing but the condition, the mental condition of a person. This means the tendency of the mental condition. A person tends to attend to an object towards which his mind is set. Aim. So we all have some kind of an aim in our life. Our attention is also focused towards that particular aim. So you will see there are different kind of students in your classroom based on what they want to do, their aim, immediate and long term aim. Their attention is determined. Habit. Our habits influence the selection of our stimulus. So a person develops a habit of attending to necessary things and not attending to things which he considers not necessary. Both these habits help a man in his daily routine. So our attention is also based on our habit. The next one is social suggestion. So people tend to attend to what is suggested to them, and they probably use this because they want to avoid any kind of a discomfort. Besides these factors, there are other factors that also influence our attention, like heredity, our education and training, our past experiences, emotions, the meaningfulness of an activity, our motives, the family, school, society, our physiological conditions, all these play a very important role in our attention. To understand attention better, you can understand how advertisements are done. Advertisers use both these factors of attention, like internal and external factor, in displaying their products and goods very effectively. We as teachers can also use the knowledge of attention to build up the attention in the classroom, because the more attentive the children are, the better is the understanding of the subject and quicker will be the delivery of the subject. So why do we need to be attentive? Because it helps us in being prepared and alert all the time. It helps us to focus on objects at one time, one object at one time. Okay, and it helps us to perceive anything and everything better in the environment we are in. A good attention helps us to strengthen our ability to complete a task, and very importantly, it helps in a better perception and a better learning process. So understanding these concepts are very important as a teacher for you. So let us understand some kind of a problems that are faced in attention. The first one is span of attention. What is span of attention? We discussed it, right? The span of attention is the amount of time that we can sustain our attention on one particular object or one particular thing. So span of attention is the amount of material that can be grasped after a single brief exposure. These materials can be random single digits or letters or informations. See, our mind has a capacity to organize the perceptual field into different units. So people who have problem with attention will have difficulty to retain it in the span of attention will also be affected. The second one is a shifting of attention. So an individual's attention is not stable. It keeps shifting from one aspect to other. We can only attend to things continuously for a few seconds. See, our eyes cannot gaze at things for a length of time beyond few seconds, so we shift. Such shifts can occur due to fatigue also, and also due to practice. The fluctuation varies depending upon an individual. So it is factor based. We discussed a lot of factors that affect our attention. The next one is distraction. The distraction is our inability to concentrate due to an unrelated stimulus. Is paying attention to something that is not a part of the main activity at that moment. Attention actually shifts involuntarily as it is impossible to ignore certain kind of distracting stimuli around us. So when there is a conflict between two stimuli, various factors will determine the stimulus to which attention is given. Okay. Action may also occur because of some conflicts in our mind. These preoccupations will take away our attention from whatever we are doing or whatever we are focusing on. You see, some experiments have also shown that all the external stimuli need not be a distraction. For example, a bus moving on the road, or maybe something that every day happens. These things cannot distract us easily. So we have discussed about the factors that affect our attention. So distraction also happens because of these factors. Motivation has a very important role in controlling our attention or maybe distracting us. The next one is division of attention. Sometimes, we may appear to be attending to more than one stimuli because there is rapid shifting from one to two other or more objects. Maybe a rapid shifting from one or two or many objects. Our main attention will always remain at one point at one particular time. A time need not be like 1 minute or so, it can be fraction of seconds, but one attention at one time. You might also have seen people who can work automatically with a division or a range of attention, like writing with two hands, doing multitasking, adding as well as narrating an essay. So these are automatic attention. Okay, it is inbuilt and this is not very common. It needs a lot of brain function for excelling in division or such multiple attentive abilities. Now let us understand how attention can be improved in our classroom. When we are talking about people with the multiple intelligence, people who have intellectual disability, their attention span is also very less. They have a fluctuating attention. It is very difficult to hold their attention over a period of time on a particular subject. So as a teacher, what should you be doing? You should minimize the stimuli in the classroom. The stimulus should be less. Doors, curtains, outside noise, everything should be minimized. Before you start a class, check for any kind of discomfort, whether the child is thirsty, wants to use the washroom, and all kind or hungry. Okay, minimize any kind of body discomfort before starting your session. When you prepare TLM for children with low IQ, intellectual disability, and also very young children, okay, our TLM should be very big and attractive. Remember what all catches our attention, what are the factors that catch our attention, external factors. So we will have to work on these external factors and we will have to keep them in mind before we make our teaching learning material. Okay, now avoid monotony, make it very interactive and Make it irregular, like the same thing going on again and again, the same concept, same methods. It become makes the class very boring. So bring in some fresh ideas and take the class in a creative manner. So we all know attention is a very selective act of our mind, and to attend to things, it is we require a lot of concentration, and our attention also keeps changing from one thing to the other. Attention will be there for one thing at one time. We have also understood in our previous session about interest. So whatever interests us, our attention will always be there. The motivation is very important uh, when we talk about attention. So one can attend to studies only when they are interested. When the activity is meaningful, they will have some kind of an interest, and then the attention will move to that particular subject. If you find something non-meaningful and if you are forcibly making somebody sit for an activity, definitely the person is physically present there, but the attention will not be there. So we have to understand the concept of interest and how it is related to attention. The teacher, you can use the psychological aspect also, include them in your teaching methods. Some important points that you can keep in mind which attract the attention of students in the classroom. These points should be, yeah, also implemented in the class. So let us go through it one by one. At least 5 6 points we will be discussing now. Please make a note of it also. One is the role of instinct. In very young children, and also, as I said, people with intellectual disability, the interest is generated by instincts. So when we are talking about formal education, we have to connect this our topics with some kind of an instinct that causes some kind of a stimulation in them. So here something what you have to be very careful is, like when you are giving an instinct, some subject that you are teaching, and it gives rise to some kind of a negative or destructive instinct, the child will learn it and the child will act upon it also. So carefully choose what you are going to teach and how you are going to teach them. We will have to also look at the level of development. Students will give you different kind of expressions, okay, according to their interest and their level of development of knowledge. For example, the child may show interest in games at one point of time, and they may show interest in some other activity in another point of time. Using this knowledge, the teacher can derive her best advantage from the child's periodical and temporary interest, and she can use this to develop and improve the child's performance in many subjects. Now, whatever subject that you are choosing, it should not be very tough and it should neither be very easy. If it is very difficult, it will cause the student to lose the interest. And if it is too easy, the child will never develop the interest to relearn it, or he will not put any effort to learn it. So make your subjects and delivery not too easy as well as not too difficult. Now, aim of the subject. The student should be made aware of the aim and object of the subject the teacher is going to teach. This will help to increase his interest in the subject. If you know something already, making a relationship with that uh, thing is very easy. So same way here, introduce the subject and then start teaching it. You can use some facts, some kind of information, and make your class interesting. The next is materials and methods used in teaching. Now the students find it more interesting and more intriguing, if the delivery of the subject is using some film, radio, photography, television, maps, charts. Okay, so you can use all these in your teaching method and materials. Constant repetition takes most of the novelty and interest out of the subject. So So be more creative when you are talking about revision classes. Make the classroom much more fun and relaxable for both yourself and the students. Interest also depends upon the teacher's personality. If the teacher herself or himself is not taking any interest in the class and shows signs of exhaustion and lack of enthusiasm, it will be not at all easy to reach to the children. So you will have to improve on yourself also, work on yourself also while you take the class for children. Our method of teaching is also a very important factor in creating interest in the subject. Thus, it influences and affects the student and their characters, their tenacity and inspiration. They also start taking part in anything that is presented in the class. So, in this respect, the teacher can do much in a way to inspire the student to a state of heightened interest in a particular subject.